Hey everyone, how are you doing? I thought I would do something different today and talk about myself. um, Surprisingly, it can be quite difficult to do. I feel like I have stopped talking about myself in particular unless a client is going through a certain challenge and it assists them in getting through that either by just sharing my story and perhaps it illuminates them in finding out what would work for them or hey guys, thank you for joining. So I just basically tend to share my story to clients when I feel that it will assist them in moving forward. One thing that I have found lately is that it's become a little bit more difficult than it has been to express myself and to share my emotions with people. You might think that I share them openly and freely, but to me, I feel when it really comes down to my personal experience, I'm definitely limiting myself or have been limiting myself. And I have realized that it's because I have been feeling a little bit depressed lately and that my anxiety had come back. And I was wondering why this was happening. And it turns out there are 3 eclipses that are on their way in July. A solar eclipse, a lunar eclipse, and I'm not quite sure about the other one. But we are also entering Winter Solstice, which is the darkest days of our year. And so it affects us personally. And I've definitely been feeling a lot more in tune with the moon cycles and, of course, the astrological changes that are happening. I find for me that it's really helpful to know what's happening astrologically so that I can have greater clarity and stability in my life. So that, for example, when my depression comes back, I deal with it in a healthy way. I'm able to acknowledge that whatever is going on is happening and I know what to do about it. For me, I tend to just retract back more into myself and focus on self-love. I did a new painting today, and I did try and take a photo of it before, but it didn't work very well. So I'll show you. Ta-da! I'm not entirely sure about the whole meaning of it so far. However, I do know it is about embracing my divine feminine more and becoming a bit, stepping more into being a leader and sharing who I am and my emotions better. So this might trigger a few people. I'm sorry in advance if it does, but I'm also not sorry if that makes any thanks, Andy. If that makes any sense at all. I'm sorry for the pain that you've been through, and I'm sorry that it's still very difficult. I'd like to talk about some stuff that has come back up from the depths of my being, which is to do with sexual abuse and a little bit of post-traumatic stress that's come back. So I thought that I was doing a lot better than I actually was until a certain series of events happened where, for example, I've been acting out of character. I've outwardly, I don't know what the word would be, striked out, I don't know. Basically, I overreacted and I allowed my anger to make a situation go from bad to worse. And I haven't actually experienced that for quite some time. So you can imagine how shocking and surprising it was to me that this happened. You know, sexual abuse and post-traumatic stress, depression, anxiety, and everything else that we are challenged with can be very difficult to talk about. And I think that's part of why it is such a challenge. For me, I find that I go into my head a lot and I really want to say things and I even hear my internal dialogue going, but I'm not actually able to say it out loud. And I used to feel like that quite a lot, and thankfully these days, not as much. But the part of the reason that my sexual abuse and post-traumatic stress has been triggered recently is because I went to the gynecologist yesterday because I have been having some deep hip pains and I was a bit worried about what it might be, but it turns out that it is somewhat common. 1 in 5 women have it, and basically it just comes from pelvic pain. And for me in particular, it is my muscles spasming in my pelvic floor, and that creates a lot of discomfort and pain in my sex life. But also because it's gone uncared for and not managed for my entire life of my sexual life anyway, it has basically manifested into my hips, and I've been feeling that deep hip pain that I was telling you about. So I've been doing yoga and making sure that I stay on top of my self-care routine, and of course being creative wherever I can. It is kind of a relief, and when I say kind of, I mean it is a very big relief to have gone to the gynecologist and to get the answer as to why I've been experiencing this pain. So basically, I need to reteach myself how to relax my muscles, and I may be going to go to a physiotherapist. If that doesn't help, then I need to go back on the pill, and they basically said that suppressing my period would be a good idea because the less pain I have in that region, the better. But I don't feel like that really goes to the core of the problem. So, and I've always been very sensitive to hormones, drugs, etc. So I just don't feel like that's the right avenue for me. The good news is that I don't really have any major telltale signs of endometriosis, which is really good and makes me feel more relieved and relaxed. And if this pain continues and physio doesn't help, then they said worst case scenario, I'll have to go get a laparoscopic, I think it's called, surgery, where it's basically keyhole surgery, and they go and have a look inside your womb and such, which kind of is very scary to think about. So I'm just focusing on the positives, really. I find that when I spend time focusing on myself, especially in the past, I've felt really self-conscious, and I guess because I've also been called selfish, I find it difficult to share openly and freely. And I'm, truth be told, struggling even as we speak, or as I speak, even with my best friends, really. But I'm always open to hear other people's stories and be a support system for them. So I had to learn how to be my own support system before I could open up to others. And, it's just an ongoing process. You can't fix everything in one day. And for me, 9 years later, I'm only just figuring out why I've been having this chronic pain. So I am a very firm believer in things happening for a reason, and that they happen all in divine timing. So we might not experience the whole truth of something until we are ready to do so. And one of the biggest things that happened for me before I go through a very big breakthrough and shift in my consciousness is that I have dreams. I don't know why, but I'm actually shaking right now. I don't know if I'm not cold. I'm definitely not cold. I think it might just be nerves. And public speaking, as I've mentioned in past videos, has been very difficult to face. But thank you for listening to me anyway. If I can remember what I was saying. Yep, I don't know. Oh, yes, actually I do know. So I find that my dreams are really helpful in letting me know that something is going on, that maybe I'm not living at my fullest potential or I'm not feeling my best. And it's also been helpful for me to become aware of the behavioral patterns that I experience, or the way that I eat and what I'm drawn to, or the interactions I have with other people when I'm not feeling as on top of the world. So one of the big telltale signs for me actually recently is that I was emotionally eating. And at first it was unconscious, and I was like, wait, I don't usually want to have sugar. I don't usually want to eat just for the sake of eating, because I don't really like eating, truth be told. I've been working on my diet and my lifestyle for a very long time, and it's definitely not perfect, but it is perfect in this moment for where I need to be and for where I'm going. I think the most important thing for me that helps me to stay positive and to keep moving forward is to acknowledge how far I've come, and to just keep going in that direction. So I'm going to go, but thank you for listening, and I really appreciate you holding space for me during this process, and for being so loving and supportive in my life as well. Each and every person that I cross paths with is an absolute treasure, and I'm so very, very lucky to have you all in my life. So thank you so much. Be good to yourselves, and I love you.